Oh, it's hi, friends. How are you, friends?
Hello.
I'm assuming you're both recording because we just
Yeah,
said,
Yeah,
hey, go check your recording thingy. Yeah. So, how are you, friends? Are you good?
I'm doing well.
better.
Yeah. For those who don't know, James says better because this is Jetpack Swords, a super cool game podcast. I'm Greg. I'm joined by Packy and James. And I would say as always, but it's not always. Last week, James wasn't here because
My God,
James
the
had freaking
internet.
bad luck. Yep. So it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Good
And
to be
I'm
back.
glad to hear that things are going slightly better, which is always good. Hmm. What do you guys want to talk about?
Um, there was the Call of Duty Xbox Activision kind of news.
So, if you
Some
want to
game
tell it,
stuff.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, so Microsoft for a bit now has obviously been trying to acquire Activision Blizzard. And US regulators and UK regulators have basically said that it's too much of a monopoly for them to be allowed to do it. I think they specifically said for cloud gaming was like the big thing they talked about, right? Or am I wrong?
That was the UK's.
UK,
UK was
sorry.
specifically on cloud. FTC was basically just trying to make any case they could. They
Okay.
were like, "We'll take cloud if we can get it. We'll take subscription
Yeah,
services if we
just
can get it. We'll
whatever.
take console if we can get it. Just anything that flies by the judge." And nothing flew by the judge.
Yeah, so on the US end, they've gone through and like the acquisition is happening so far at least. And then what is it, the CMA, is that what it is? Or CTA, whatever it is on the UK side, they still
CMA.
have
Yep.
their whole process to get through. But then I saw too what I thought was interesting that they like did it so quickly right after is they put out a binding agreement that they're not going to take Call of Duty off of PlayStation, so it'll stay on according to this. I keep seeing it in quotes, binding agreement.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't
that
know,
tracks with
interesting.
the Sony earlier saying we don't care, we just don't want your thing to go through to the point
Yeah.
of okay, this is inevitable. We'll take the deal, right? Like,
um, but yeah, I mean that's interesting. Um,
yeah, for sure. We touched on it a little bit last week, and when we talked on it, it was literally like the FTC had appealed it that day, and I think like literally the next day or even that night. Like, no, it would have been literally next day. Like the appeal already got shot down by the FTC.
mhm.
So like, yeah, 100% going through in the US, and like everything in the UK seems promising to the point that like if you look at both Microsoft's and Activision stocks, like it's fucking stupid. Like you can tell when the decision was made and it became abundantly clear that this deal was going to close because they both fucking skyrocketed. Which is interesting that they both skyrocketed too, right? Because like Activision's makes sense. I mean, it's literally going to be if you own that, you're going to get $96 or whatever the fuck it is. I don't remember the exact thing per share. So it's like that makes sense. That goes exactly to that point, no higher. Whereas like the fact that Microsoft's also skyrocketed means that like clearly those investors also like want this to go through. So it's interesting that it was like a double skyrocket.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
notoriety. Also,
so
it's more like I don't think it skyrocketed so much as it returned to the level it was when the deal initially was announced, and and then it went way down when they started to run into roadblocks, and now it's just kind of
well, even when
gotten
it
back
was
to that
initially
level.
announced, it was never this high. This has been the peak
Oh, they
for
did peak.
Activision.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because initially it's like, it's like, oh, this is great. But like obviously this might not close. It's, $60 billion. It'll probably face scrutiny, right? And so then it was like, pretty high, but not this high. And then obviously like CMA did their initial like no thing and then it fucking plummeted. And then I bought some more because I have zero faith in regulators to actually block acquisitions. And then and then now with it basically affirmed it, yeah, shot back up even higher than it's ever been. So
I
um
saw probably my
one
favorite take on all this was I'm really excited it's going through because that means these discussions on gaming forums is over. Not that it's
I
not a
know, right?
valuable discussion, but like usually you're going to like even our podcast and like other gaming places, like you go there to just hear people talk about video games and like the fun part of it, not business news. And so many of these forums that talk about Xbox in any capacity become business news.
It'll be great for it to be done. Speaking of business news,
Oh, Jesus.
I just thought it was kind of interesting, right? Because I think Activision posted their financials today, which is probably why the initial closing date was like supposed to be yesterday. Because I'm guessing it's the end of the quarter, and that's why they posted their financials today. Um, COD Mobile's made like $3 billion since its launch in like 2019, I think. And then also like more specifically, like 1.5 of those billion was from February 2022. Which really does support the Microsoft case of like we want to cash in on the mobile game and we want the phone money. Because yeah, I mean, just like that, and that's just COD, right? That's just COD Mobile. Like COD Warzone hasn't even launched on phone, and like that shares a battle pass even, which is great. And that doesn't even include King, and like it's still that much money. Like it's just, ooh, mama, that's that's a lot of money. But yeah, that's enough. That's enough gaming news. Because business stuff is both interesting and boring, right? It rides that line. I still
I'm just gonna
remember
come
the
into
one
it with
time
like a
like I
different
mentioned
mindset, right?
something and Packy like started reading through the 70-page PDF and it was just like, God damn it, why am I reading through the 70-page PDF? And you're like, because it's interesting, right? Like, but so I pre-ordered Remnant 2,
Same.
which
I
is
did today.
for me, I obviously you all know, and anybody listening who knows, not only am I cheap, but my wife is very cheap. And so, as my friend Ricardo, who's on our podcast, referred to it, he was like, "Oh, did you get CEO approval?" I was like, "Yeah, I got CEO approval." This is the first game I've pre-ordered in a minute. Whether that be a combination, and that's a combination of like the don't pre-order is bad, vocal really loud minority on the internet, combined with, which they're not wrong, don't pre-order. Normally pre-orders are bad, and I say that as somebody who just did it. um but also, I mean, like, if thing was like actually busted, I could just get a refund. So like, I'm not entirely sure how true the like don't pre-order thing is when you can just get the fucking refund. Actually, I'm curious. Do either of you know if you refund a game through Steam, Epic, fucking Meta for the Quest, Xbox, PlayStation, who do you think eats that cost? Do you think it's the platform, or do you think they charge that back to the developer basically?
I don't
Platform
know.
immediately eats the cost. It's always like their financials that the money's coming out of, but eventually it comes out of the developer.
So I get
You
refunds
think
from
so?
Steam every once in a while, but that's the
Like
only time I ever
99%.
do it.
Yeah, I've only refunded through
I
Steam. I think Steam has the best and easiest process. It's the only one
Yeah.
where I feel like it feels viable. Everywhere else, it's a whole process, but like Steam, it's so quick if you've not played more than 2 hours.
Yeah, agreed.
do they have a timeline on that?
What do you mean timeline? Like time limit?
Yeah, like, is it 2 hours within a month, and like after the month's
No.
passed, like, fuck you, you're out of luck, or
2 hours, it just looks at your game time. It like
yeah,
directly looks at your user record.
that's it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. Yeah. I mentioned GTA 5 came on a Game Pass and I bought it during Epic summer sale. And so I went to go refund it on Epic. And they have a very similar model. It's if you played it less than 2 hours, I think it's the exact same number. It's self-service, 100% automatic. You click the button, you get a refund. But it also has a time limit. So I think theirs is a month. So I think it's if you bought it within the past month and you have played less than 2 hours, you can just click a button and get an automatic refund. But I think I had passed the month mark, and so I wasn't able to refund it on Epic, which is kind of lame. But whatever. If I end up playing it, I end up playing it, and that's great. Like, I mean, I don't mind giving developers money. I enjoy giving developers money. Hence why I pre-ordered Remnant. Not just that, I pre-ordered Remnant 2 Super Ultra Mega
I
Duper
saw you did
Deluxe
the.
Edition.
Are you going to be playing it Friday then?
I am going to be playing it Friday. I think I'm going to take Friday off. I haven't put it in yet, but I need to put it in. Also, because I'm getting burnt out on work. Like, that is the thing. I am getting
Yeah.
burnt out on work, and so I need the 3-day weekend, and, like, Remnant 2 is a fantastic excuse for that. But yeah, no, I got it because, I mean, like we mentioned before, it's $50, $60, $70 for the versions of the game. So, like, the fact that, like, the $70 version is the one that comes with the DLC, and that's like what other games are like their base price is $70 for. I'm just like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. Like,
I almost did the same thing.
Like, it's just, well, and to be fair, I mean, knowing us again, we're cheap. Like, we had a $25 gift card from like Samsung Wallet or some shit. I don't even fucking know. And then, like, I had like rewards points, right? And so, like, out of pocket, quote unquote, it was $0. Which is also why I didn't fucking. That's why I was able to get CEO approval. Is it was $0 out of pocket essentially. But yeah, no, I'm super fucking excited for Remnant too. I've been playing a ton of Remnant. Like that has been like the game I've been playing. To the point where I beat the Subject 2923 campaign DLC, which is basically just like 1.25 worlds. Um, like that was cool. Like new bosses were cool. And then I went back and I played. I never played the survival mode that was in the first DLC. And I also never went back and did. I only had like an hour of adventure mode total, and so I started a little bit of adventure mode the other day. Um, and goddamn, that the DLC campaign was great. Survival is super fun. Like I fucking blow at it. My friend Shields, who's on the podcast, like I convinced him to, him listening to us talk about it in the past, like he ended up buying it and has loved it. And he was texting him while I was playing survival, and I think he did like 15 bosses in a run. I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? How are you this good? Which we were both playing on normal instead of hard, which is what we played the campaign on. But still, like, I cannot fucking believe that he got like 15 bosses in a run. Like, because it's obviously if you die, you die, right? Like, and so, that's incredible to beat 15 bosses without dying. I think he did say the one he died on was one he had never seen before, which also sucks, right? Like there's that level of like, because it's, random and procedurally generated, you might get one you've never seen. And doing that for the first time without dying fucking blows. Packy, you were saying?
How long does 15 bosses take? That sounds like an insanely long roguelike run. Like it's gotta be 2 hours,
It would have
right?
been very long. It probably would have been about 2 hours.
That's insanity.
Because I'm thinking, let's see. So when I was doing it, it was about 5 minutes for the like level up to the boss, and the boss probably takes, I don't know, minute and a half. So like, let's say 7 times 15 is 105 minutes. So that's under 2 hours. And I think he mentioned that like in the middle of those, he started like speed running it because he found that if you basically like out leveled the timer, because as it goes, there's a timer that counts down and enemies get stronger. And he was like, I find if I out level that, then it got like kind of easier in the middle there. And so it probably took him less than 100 minutes, so definitely less than 2 hours. But still, that is long, right? And like you can pause it in the middle of it, obviously, right? Like very similar to you kill the boss and you go back to the labyrinth, they call it. And at that point, you can like stop your or pause your run. Which I don't know if he did that, but what I thought was crazy is looking at the difficulties. They have so the first two difficulties, the timer that I was talking about, where the longer it goes on, the harder the enemies get. It pauses when you're in the labyrinth in between runs or in between levels and bosses. But on the last two difficulties, the timer keeps ticking there, and so like that would just be so fucking annoying to like be sitting there like trying to figure out what things to buy or whatever, and then like you just like the timer keeps ticking, and so you're just like fuck, do I waste time trying to buy these items or not?
I do hate that with because there's a bunch of games that do the longer it goes, that like in a very direct way it shows you the bars. It slowly. I love Risk of Rains too. They like are just showing the increasing difficulty at the very very top, and it ends with the difficulty. Like the last one is literally ha 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 ha. So it's just gonna fucking destroy you. But I do hate when they don't pause the timer when you're making like a build decision. It really should be paused.
Yeah, no, like I think that was like, clearly the intention is they wanted to basically force you to do that on the harder difficulties. Whereas, yeah, the lower ones, yeah, you can take as much time as you want, which is nice. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like Remnant more than other Souls likes in the first place, is because it has fucking difficulty settings. Like, I refuse to buy the argument that adding difficulty settings to a Souls like ruins the game. Like, both Remnant and Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order did it, and they worked out perfectly fine, right? Like, I refuse to buy that argument that like adding the settings ruins the game, because yeah, I mean, being able to start on the lower setting, feel like get my handle of it, right? Like or what I did the other day when I was doing adventure mode, I was like, let me try out a melee only build, which
I've done that. It's tough.
It went so fucking bad, dude. It went so bad. Well, because the reason I wanted to try it out is, James, I don't know if you know, but I don't know if on the base game if any of the melee weapons had modifiers on them. But in the DLC they definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I beat the 2923 DLC, and you get this sword that the charge attack like shoots out a wave or something. And I was like, oh fuck yeah, this is a great opportunity to try a melee only build. And also because like I had some like rings and stuff that are like, oh, steal 5% health on melee, you know, stuff like this. So I'm like, okay, let me try this out. The problem is that sword was so low level. Well, one, I suck. The problem is I fucking suck. Like that's the problem, right? But also the sword is really low level, and I'd blown all my scrap upgrading all of my other gear to beat the final boss of the campaign. And so I had no scrap left to upgrade both the sword itself and the armor that would have gone well with it. And so like I was like, all right, fuck hard. Let me put this on normal and try it on normal. And I still got shit stomped. And so I was just like, okay, this is not for me. Probably just gonna like go, and I think that's when I was like, oh, let me just go pre-order Remnant 2 and just put this on pause for now, you know, like you know, and that's what I did. And that's when I bought the second game. Fucking pumped. I need to tell Max because I doubt he knows it's coming out, but Max is one of the only people I've actually played co-op with in the first game, like when it came out initially, and it's because I mean, it's very right down Max's alley, right? Like he loves Dark Souls games, and he also likes to go shooty. So it's a good little combo there.
It'd be worth telling you about that. I will say of all the pre-order deal, like the early periods you can get, this is one of the like specifically this way of doing it seems so ideal because it's only 3 days early, but the 3 days early are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like that's so huge.
I think that's pretty common
for
isn't
you
it?
guys. For me, that's my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's why I specifically didn't do that version. I was like, I don't need the early access.
I mean, I didn't do it for the early access. I did it for the DLC, right?
Yeah,
I was like, I just finished playing the DLC for the first one. And I was like, I enjoyed the DLC for the first one. I enjoyed the first game. It's like, let me go ahead and just, you know, preemptively do this again, because also the base price was lower than I expected it to be, right?
It's a good price.
Like, dude, it's the fucking AA, man. Like, this is some high quality AA shit, and I'm fucking loving it. Goddamn, they must be, you know, snacking down on fucking McNuggies. Get it? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Sorry. Everybody should ignore me and somebody else should talk. So what have you been playing, guys?
So as I mentioned to Greg, I've been playing a lot of Ace Combat 7 specifically, which I've always liked the Ace Combat games ever since I was a kid because I've always been super into like aviation and specifically like military aviation. Love that stuff so much. And if you guys have not played Ace Combat 7, which is it 7, 6? I don't even know. I should know which one the current one is because I play it so much. It's 7, right? Yeah. 7 is incredible. It's so good. And my like only big complaints about it are that it does not have more post-launch support in terms of DLC. It has some, but very little in terms of like what they could do. And then 2, it does not have a performance like update for the next gen consoles, although it runs fine and like great on the Series X that I played on. But that game is such a comfort game for me. I've played all the missions. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've beaten the game on the hardest difficulty. I love that game. But yeah, I've been playing that a lot just because it's so easy to get back into and just play for like, you know, an hour or two or whatever. And then I just bought, because Xbox is having a big sale right now, I bought Dredge. Have you guys heard of Dredge?
I've heard that name.
Sounds familiar, but I can't picture it.
It is a third-person fishing game, an indie game, where you're like in control of the boat. Like you don't see your person at all or anything. And it's very Lovecraftian, so you're like on this group of islands, and you're supposed to like catch fish to get money to like upgrade your boat over time and stuff. And you have like limited cargo space, but you can upgrade that over time. And then there's like a day-night cycle, so during the day it's like relatively safe, other than just like you hitting rocks and stuff, so you just have to like navigate. And then at night a fog bank rolls in, and it swaps the spawn locations of what fish are out. So like there's nighttime fish and daytime fish. But also at night, you need to have a light on. And even with the light, your character starts building panic. And the more panic you get, the more dangerous the world gets. And it only goes away if you sleep or if like you spend enough time just like out in the daylight. And so like parts of the map will change with more panic because like rocks will appear where there weren't rocks before. Some things can only be interacted with while you have high panic, classic like Lovecraftian, like gaining insight from the madness. Giant, like angry monster fish will spawn when there's like you have high panic. There was one thing today that like legitimately scared me. It had just turned night and I was like, it's like the first area you start in, because it's like open world, but it's like relatively small. It's kind of like Sea of Thieves map, but like obviously a lot smaller, where it's just a bunch of like islands and you can go between them. The first area you start in is like a little sheltered bay, and it's got 2 towns on either end, and so you're meant to just like go back and forth between them, but then you can also leave pretty early. But I was just outside of that, so I thought I was relatively safe. Like, I wasn't within the bay, but I was close. But it was night, and I like looked out on the horizon, because the camera can either be like top down, or you can angle it so you can see pretty far out. It's got a pretty good draw distance and everything, which, is very fitting for like a cool ocean game, because you can see like the lighthouse on the horizon, which you need to head to for safety or whatever. But I saw another boat out there, and I hadn't seen another boat yet. I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was like way out past these islands, and I was like, well, I'm going to see if I can get to it. Maybe it's like an NPC, because there are NPCs like at the different towns and stuff who, you can sell fish to or whatever. And as I got closer, it started speeding up, and then it turned towards me, and I was like, that's interesting. And when I got up next to it, it was a fucking like giant Lovecraftian anglerfish that had been projecting a boat, and it like ate me, and I was like, shit. It scared the shit out of me.
That's clever.
Oh, that is not what I expected.
Like, very like positive reviews and everything when it first came out, but I was like, I don't know if like I'm gonna enjoy this, because I love like Lovecraftian eldritch horror and like storytelling. I love that stuff. But I was like, I don't know how like a fishing game is going to translate that super well. And it's so good. I've played so much of it in the last like 2 days that I got it. It was like $20 on sale, and it was great. Highly recommend. I have so much more to do in it. And then the other game I got is called Chorus, and it's a open world space fighter game.
Used I got to be on Game Pass, actually.
Yeah, it was. It's $10 right now, and I got that because I was like, I played so much Ace Combat, I need like something that's like Ace Combat but isn't, and it's not quite as easy to play as Ace Combat, but it's pretty cool. It's got kind of a cool story, and I don't know, I've played a ton of it. I played way more of Dredge than I played of that, but it's cool.
Oh yeah, no, that was one of the ones that was on my like, oh, I should check this thing out while it was on Game Pass, and I never ended up getting around to it.
It was on my list too, and then it came off. But then it was like super cheap. It was only $10, and I was like, I can drop.
That's the one that like
that's fine.
They show it as a V, right, in Chorus, right? And that's the game that I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Hell yeah, no, that's cool. I that actually did remind me. I did buy a game off the Xbox Summer Sale, but I haven't launched it yet. Which I don't know if either of you all have played this, but Control, the Ultimate Edition was $10 on the sale.
But I beat the base game and did all the side content. Control is really good.
Hell yeah! No, I mean that's what I've heard, and it also was on Game Pass at one point, but I never got around to playing it then. Mainly because, like, quite frankly, I was really annoyed with them because they were one of the developers or publishers that opted to make the Series XS version not the same game, so it's technically a different game, which is quite frankly bullshit. Like, that's just fucking stupid, and anybody who does that, you're bad. Don't do that. And so that was why I never played it then, but it was, at the moment, it was $10, and I was like, okay, it's $10, it's the current gen version, it's got the DLC, I'm gonna do it. Also because, like, Alan Wake and Quantum Break, those are great games, and so, like, I'm very excited to play Control, but I haven't launched it yet because Remnant.
It's very good.
Which the reason I'm playing Remnant is actually because of you, James, right? Like, because you were playing it before, and I was like, you know what? I need to fucking play this DLC before 2 comes out, or I'm never gonna beat the DLC, right? Like, and maybe that's not true. Maybe I would have gone back to the first one after the second one comes out. But knowing me, that would never happen.
Yeah, I feel.
I then had one more question, actually, James, for you. So, like, given your love for Ace Combat, how do you feel about Top Gun?
Be honest, I've never seen the original one, but I saw Maverick in theaters at the new theater here, like down the street from us, that has really, really, really good audio, and the fact that it's all jet like bass noises and everything was really, really good on that. Yeah. I won't say it's like it's not like an amazingly well written movie, and like me being a big like aircraft nerd, I was like picking things apart as I watched it, but I was like, this is still like super fucking cool with the like I probably would never watch it without the like audio system that theater had. Like I might watch it at home again in like a year or two, but just because that's mostly just because I like fucking jets and stuff. But
yeah, dude.
Like, no, like Ace Combat, like I said, they have a limited amount of DLC for it. Like literally, they only have 3 extra missions, which are all kind of bullshit missions, and then I think they've had 2 or 3 plane packs, but the plane packs only add like 3 to 4 planes each. And obviously, there's like I could go on and name a billion more planes they should add. But the most recent one, which is probably the last one they'll put out, is a Top Gun Maverick pack, which is kind of stupid because 3 of the planes in that pack are already in the base game, which is kind of bullshit. But I got it on sale, so I didn't pay as much. It's a fucking $20 DLC for 3 planes that are already in the base game. But it's fine. It's fine.
That's disappointing, actually, that it was...
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it's because it's smaller and it costs money, but like...
It's really dumb that the game does not have more DLC, and that the DLC it does have isn't that great. Like, I like it because I love Ace Combat and planes, but like, it's pretty sad. It's a really
the disappointing thing to me...
In that niche, that like... The ones that are good are so insanely popular with that audience, but the audience is usually small enough.
But
like
I guess the audience is small, but there's one other game to fill that niche, and it's an indie game called Project Wingman, and it's like pretty good, but it's not like it doesn't have the same production value of specifically 7. And I've played like a decent amount of Project Wingman, and it's like it needs a lot more content too. But I don't know, 7 just has so little additional content.
I feel like DLC. Into my naive understanding, I feel like DLC probably is more profitable for developers and publishers than the base game is. And it's just because, like, if you look at least the, like, you know, hours or time to beat or whatever of DLC versus the cost, and you do that, like, you know, Division we've talked about, $1 an hour or whatever, right? Like, and then you assume that time to beat directly correlates with time to develop, right? Which isn't always true, but like I feel like it's a roughish comparison. I feel like DLC has a much higher dollar per time to develop than a base game does. And so I feel like DLC should be more profitable and should be therefore more attractive to
I think
something like Ace Combat.
For Ace Combat, one of the reasons they probably haven't won is obviously, like you said, Pac, it's not a huge audience. Like, it definitely has a following. Ace Combat has the same, like, devout following that something like Armored Core has, where it's very, very, like, strong, but it's not, like, huge. But I think the real, like, other reason is they have all of the planes that are real, which is almost all of them. There's only, like a small handful that are, like, fictional planes. They're licensed, like... There are General Dynamics planes, obviously, that are licensed, that they have all the logos in the, like, title card when they come up. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. I don't need... Because, like, Project Wingman doesn't have that, and so they just change the names of all the planes, like how Call of Duty used to have, like, the M16, but now it has, like, the R16, but it's still an M16. They just aren't using the name, so they don't have to worry about the license. So, like, I don't need Ace Combat to have an actual F-14. It could be like Project Wingman where it's like a T-14, but it's still the fucking F-14. It just doesn't have the badge on it, but like, who cares? But yeah, every single plane that is real, even though the world of Ace Combat is not the real world, is still all licensed.
I think there are people, especially people who are into military hardware, and I specifically think of planes, ships, and tanks. People get really particular that you use the real ones.
That's true also, because I am one of those people, but also I don't care enough to care that much. But I know you're right, because I'm sure you guys have seen the news stories about War Thunder, which is a free-to-play military tank, plane, and ship game, where multiple times, I think 3 to 5 times at this point, people have leaked classified military documents relating to vehicles in that game because they wanted to prove somebody wrong on the forums. That's literally what is happening.
God.
People are getting court-martialed over fucking War Thunder.
What the fuck? I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
It's a free-to-play money and time suck of a game. Like, I'm sure you guys remember like World of Tanks when that first came out. That game's a time suck. War Thunder is 1,000 times worse. And
the forums they're having these conversations in, like 30 people are reading them.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean,
it's not a meaningful.
No,
argument.
War Thunder has like a decent sized community for what it is, but it's literally people are getting court-martialed over being right in a free to play forum.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
People are just really particular about it. Like people.
No, they are. It's really funny.
Which I get. I just don't get the like not being able to have stuff on top of that.
Like I said, there's literally only 3 DLC missions that they added, and everything else has been like plane packs, and that's it. And there's been like only 2 plane packs.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me they don't do like experimental plane models. Stuff that like maybe never saw production ones. Even.
They have a couple of those. They did one pack that literally was experimental planes that are like real, but like never made it past the concept stage, and like that one's really cool. But it only added like 4 planes at a time, and like I said, I could list off 20 planes right now that game doesn't have that I would love to see in that game. Like there are so many things, so many jets that I adore that are not in that game that I would love to see in it, but it's not going to happen. I'm going to have to wait till fucking Ace Combat 8, which is stupid.
Supposedly, clearly, is going to be a while. I don't know.
I don't even know what the time gap between 6 and 7 was, but it was a while. I know that. Let's check.
I'm curious while you're looking.
I feel like actually this has been in the news recently. Ace Combat specifically.
I don't know.
There's a rumor, I think, that a new one's coming.
Yeah, 12 years. 12 years between releases. What is what? What? It's not Skyrim. Like I don't understand.
That was part of why I was so surprised in that I was really surprised to hear there was no DLC, because I thought they would have gone that route of like, oh, we just have, because like if you're playing a flight combat game, Ace Combat is just the series you go to. And so I assume they hit what some other games hit, where they're like, all right, this is as good. We don't want to develop a new game. We think we've hit kind of our peak. Let's just keep adding in really DLC.
Good. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really, really surprising they're not. I was just assuming, I was like, oh, it's one of those games that's been out for years and years, and you can get the base for $10.
It needs co-op. It needs more planes. It needs more missions. It needs the fucking performance mode that it kind of already has, but not really.
It needs a new game.
It needs a new game.
Because you were describing Ace Combat 8. That's what you're describing.
I understand that.
You were cursed with the games that you like.
Literally, I'm never getting another good Tom Clancy
games.
game. Literally never getting another good Tom Clancy game.
No good RTSs.
Never getting Chrome Hounds. I'm getting Armored Core instead, which is not what I want. I want Chrome Hounds, which is the same developer. I'm never getting Alpha Protocol 2, which I would absolutely love to have. I'm never getting another Ace Combat. I don't get anything that I want.
I did want to talk about Armored Core 2, because last time we mentioned it, but we didn't I hadn't seen the gameplay trailer yet, which I was way more excited about, because it seems like they're further investing in making really high speed. Not that like they didn't have
so
it,
good.
but it looks so gorgeous, and like high speed looks really fluid.
Well,
I was really curious though, because they didn't show your playstyle, or at least the playstyle we've talked about before, with like it really feeling heavy and meaty and weighty.
Well, so from what I've seen, and I've played some of the older Armored Core games, not all of them, but I played a couple of them. I played, because like they basically release the games in generations, and each generation it'll be like 2 or 3 games as like a block, will be completely different playstyles. So like I think the first one on the last gen consoles, or maybe the last gen ones, like the 360 era, I want to say those were super heavy. They were still faster than Chrome Hounds, but like not fast by Armored Core standards. And then like they've had other ones where it's been like almost too fast, where like the human brain, just like, your nerve endings fry because there's too much happening too quickly on the screen.
I think it's the true struggle of mech games, like that right there, is making your machine and your enemies so fast that like your human reaction, you cannot process it.
Just as another example of that, it happens in like the upper tiers of War Thunder also. Because like if you play like the simulation level of War Thunder with like the actual jets, which I've never made it to that tier, because that's like so fucking far in. You have to dedicate like your life to that game to get to that point. There are so many key bindings, and everything in that game is so well like modeled that like there's just so much to do, and you're moving at, Mach 3. But yeah, Armored Core, some of the old ones are just like that. But from what I've seen of the new one, it looks like a mix of all the previous ones. So like you can be super fast, you can also be more grounded, and the enemies will like also reflect that. So sorry not to throw off what you were saying, just yeah.
No, actually, and that makes me think, kind of also tangential to this conversation. Do you ever play with a flight stick? Have you ever played with a flight stick?
Not since I was a kid, but like some of the first gaming memories I had as a kid were in my grandfather's office on a flight stick playing World War II combat flight simulators. Like
That was way, way ago.
I used to go to the Dayton Air Show, like the big one, every single year. I cannot tell you guys enough how much I love military aviation.
Oh, the air shows are cool.
I am aware.
We've
known each other a long time. This is not a new thing. This is like middle school James thing.
In college, and I was too stupid and had no work ethic, and I switched out of that. But that's what I wanted to do.
What? Do you mainly play all these games PC? Because you're mentioning key bindings. You mainly play it on controller, or do you play it on PC?
So I've played War Thunder on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Most recently on PC. And then Ace Combat I play on the Xbox, and it's so good. So, and then like I used to play because Tom Clancy, like Ubisoft used to have a Tom Clancy, basically Ace Combat. It was called Hawks. They had 2 of those, and those were super cool too. Back when like I felt there was a bigger wide range of like types of games in that genre. But yeah, I guess now I mostly play controller because I'm playing Ace Combat on the Xbox. But like I think War Thunder on the PC is the best experience I've had because they also just ported the PC version to consoles with no care for controller support. It's fucking awful on the controllers. But on PC, it's not too bad. And like, I don't have a flight stick or anything right now, so I guess I could go buy one, but I don't have one.
Low key, I hate this is tangentially related to porting PC versions to consoles. Don't give me a fucking cursor. I'm tired of navigating menus with a fucking cursor.
It's bad.
Oh my god.
Destiny's the only game I'll tolerate that has it, and even that's still stupid.
I feel like Destiny was the first big game that did that, like gave you a cursor on console.
Yeah.
And fuck them for that because it normalizes bullshit behavior. Yep. I don't want to navigate your goddamn menus with a fucking cursor.
Done it. It's just a lazy, like, we're also doing this for PC, and we're not going to make it work for console.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there almost certainly were other ones, but Destiny's pretty old at this point. Also, Destiny 1 in particular is, like, surprisingly old at this point.
I guess I am thinking of, like, late 2000s games, but that's about when Destiny popped up, right?
I think it was early 2010s.
That's okay. Right.
I have a related follow-up question for you, James, based on, so Packy asked, have you ever played with a flight stick? My question is actually kind of twofold, and I almost certainly know the answer to one of the questions, but I'm still curious. And so one is going back to, I asked like, oh, have you played Top Gun? And then you said, oh, they actually have Top Gun DLC, but it's $20. So then I'm curious, have you played Microsoft Flight Simulator, the new one specifically? Because they also had a Top Gun DLC, but it was thankfully a free expansion, which is obviously so very different than Ace Combat, right? Like, that's not a fighter pilot game. That's just a flying game.
I've not played the newest Flight Simulator. I did play one of the old ones on that flight stick at my grandfather's office when I was a kid, and it was never something I was super into because, like you said, it's not like military aircraft. Like, I know the newest Flight Sim has the F-18
you're not running
from
missions.
Top Gun. Yeah, exactly. It's very choose your own, and it's all vast majority of it is civilian aircraft. So yeah, I want to try the new one at some point because it's gorgeous. It's so fucking pretty. But I have not.
Well, I mean, maybe just wait for the 2024 version. Honestly, I don't know, right? Because
we'll see.
But I mean, they do have Top Gun, and also probably right down your alley, they're adding a Dune Dragonfly,
the ornithopters,
like helicopter DLC, to it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, I feel like you could get a kick out of the current Flight Simulator.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I'll almost downloaded it the other day, but I haven't done it yet. I need to.
Yeah. So then my second question, which I almost certainly know the answer to, I'm assuming the answer is no. I don't even know if Ace Combat supports VR.
It does. It was added after release, but I've not done it.
Okay, that was obviously my question, and again, because Flight Simulator, the new one, obviously supports VR, and that's been kind of on my to-do list of like things I would like to try out there. Even though like I know like it's not like that's 100% a gimmick, right? But like it would be a really fucking cool gimmick to get into the cockpit of, an F-18 in VR and, like physically, quote unquote, hit the buttons, right? Like,
Yeah.
that would be super fucking cool.
I always thought the flight stick VR headset combo would be super cool. I know
God,
people
it'd be
did
really
that
cool.
for the Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Supposedly
Squadrons.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't like Squadrons. I need to try it again. I did not like it when I first played it.
A bunch of people, I mean, even if you do like it, the people who did like it were like, after about 5 hours, you've seen everything that game has to offer.
So the only one I've done in this kind of vein of things, and it wasn't with a flight stick, is No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky on PC supports
I feel like you've done
VR.
more or less this.
Yeah, I did it with a controller, question mark. It might have been mouse and keyboard even. I didn't have a flight stick, obviously, but like I did, or no, maybe it wasn't even that. Maybe it was literally I think it was the fucking things. It was the normal VR motion controller. So I did No Man's Sky VR with that on my computer, which is like kind of cool. Like the fact that you have to use a controller and like you have to hit a button to like grab the thing as opposed to like actual hand tracking grab the thing. And like, obviously like we're getting to the point where like I wouldn't be surprised if, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 like supports, the Valve Index and, like direct hand tracking and stuff to the point where it is literally put your hand over the fucking, throttle or whatever and, highway to the danger zone, get to the red line overload. Sorry, I fucking love Top Gun. Top Gun's so fucking good. Speaking of Top Gun, actually, the one last thing I want to mention is, did you guys see my snap about my new organizer of nerddom?
Was it your shelf thing?
Yeah, it's just a fucking
Oh,
shelf.
yeah.
But I'm going to call it the
the
organizer of nerddom.
I'm so confused for a second.
then-
Yeah, I saw your shelf.
Yeah, we got it at Bed Bath & Beyond because Bed Bath & Beyond was closing. Yay, super duper sales. And then we just decided to fill with a bunch of shit. And most of the shit is WoW or Halo themed, it turns out. But we have this popcorn bucket for Top Gun Maverick from AMC, which like, this is the only popcorn bucket we have. I don't know why the fuck we got this one. Of all the things, like, why did we get this one for Top Gun Maverick and not any of the fucking others? But I put it on the shelf, and so as you were talking about Ace Combat, it made me think of this, and it made me think about my little shelf of nerddom, and I like it. But it's super cool, and I actually like this. It's a little UFO thingy, and people that are listening, because that's the only option, you're not going to fucking watch this. You're only listening to it. You can't see it, so sucks to suck, I guess. I don't know.
You all didn't see, because we don't do video. You walked off to go get it. You walked off to go get a prop that any listener of this podcast will never benefit from.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it.
Maybe I'll put it as a picture. I don't know. I'll put it as a
make
picture.
it the image for this thing, this episode. It is genuinely really cool.
I mean, it is really cool. But again, I have no idea why the fuck we got this. Like, I'm thinking back on it. I'm like, literally, why did we get this instead of like the one for Marvel was like Thor's fucking hammer? And like that was dank as shit. Like it's much more down our alley than Top Gun Maverick. Look, don't get me wrong, super fucking cool. It is going in the organizer of nerddom. But I have no idea why the fuck we got this. None at all. But it's super cool. I think that wraps James up. So what about you, Ben Packy? Wrap it up for us.
Well, mine will be shorter because I haven't been playing as much recently over the past few months. I did the one game that I've played recently was I beat RimWorld for a second time on a harder difficulty.
I've never beat RimWorld. I've played so much. I've never beaten it.
It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And it takes fucking forever. It's so easy. As someone who's given up on this one was crazy because I started a run and it was the first run I did and I won it. And it was the first time I played that difficulty because I got lucky in a lot of ways. And I think specifically I did just the biotech DLC. That was my funny moment from the Steam summer sale is everything on my wish list was discounted except for one thing, and that's the one thing that I bought, which was the biotech DLC. And it is very good, but I think it makes the game significantly easier. And I think it is designed around the other two DLCs making the game harder.
I think that's fair. From what I've played of
what do you mean by that? What do you
So
mean?
the
by
other two DLCs give you a lot more quest content, and they add a lot more endgame, both enemies and weapon variety. And like, while you think weapon variety helps you, in a lot of situations it just helps the randomly generated people that they're giving that sick shit to.
Yeah.
And you probably have scraped by to have the meager weapons that you have.
Fair.
Biotech very specifically introduces a lot more variety to colonists and gives you, as built into the DLC, they give you the two new most powerful types of them for free pretty early in the game, which are the vampires and the Mechanators, who control drones. And they have their drawbacks, but they are, particularly the Mechanator, which was like, it was funny, and why I think RimWorld is such a fantastic game at what it's trying to do, with permadeath and lasting consequences. As my whole game revolved around like making the Mechanator. My Mechanator made everything work, and especially makes the game, specifically how they make the game easier is you can just throw drones on the front line, which is one of the big problems of RimWorld. If you fight 5 rabid raccoons, this legitimately happened in this run. 5 rabid raccoons spawn at the edge of the map and straight up fucking kill one of my people, one of my important people, because they just happen to be near the edge of the map.
Yeah, if you don't catch it in time, they'll fuck you up.
Beaten near to the point of death and then bled out before anybody who could tend him could get there. Instantly, like just instant death for no reason. That was admittedly the most unlucky I got that whole run. But everything revolved around the Mechanator and being able to throw drones on the front line who could automate tasks so you didn't have to have a specialist in every little thing. And could give you, again, frontline soldiers who were invaluable in keeping your important meat sacks safe and unscratched and unhampered. Because even if you survive like these conflicts, they can scratch an eye out, which makes them worse at everything they do. You can hurt your leg, which makes you worse at everything you do. You can hurt anything where you don't handle a scenario literally perfectly can have long-term lasting consequences, which came up when I was significantly into the run. This person who's running like 11 different mechs at this point walks into a fight and they're wearing a special... It was so dumb. They were wearing a special headset to allow them to control more mechs. And they... and I just absolutely put together I love to create choke points and just mow people down and force people to run into them. Force the AI to run into it. I think that's probably what I do best in the game, is just like abuse the fact that RimWorld's AI can be pretty dumb. They've done things to make it not just run into the choke point, but you can break the AI with like one person that makes them stop their strategy and they go right back to just chasing red health bar, and then they run into your choke point and they die. One of my most important person was towards the front line, and they're just mowing people down. And it is not close. It is just a stream of gunfire into this one choke point. But that guy was towards the front. And so he got, and this is another thing that can happen in these fucking games, is that there was a turret behind him, a really strong one. And if you are in the direct line of in allied fire, you can get hit by your own bullets. And it put a uranium slug through his brain. And he went from the most important person in my camp to a vegetable. And so I had a vegetable who, and it was like, why it's a beautiful game, is you cannot undo that. You can save scum, but I set it up, that was another thing that I did this time, is I set it up where I could not save scum. And there are ways to fix that. And that was the biggest problem, is I was like, this makes everything harder because, why it's important that they're the Mechanator. There's an implant in their brain, and the only way you can take it, but you have to kill them to take it. And people really don't like when you kill people, especially when this guy was like a husband. He was really, really, really important. It was going to kill the colony. So I was like, all right, I either quit or I just like hunker down. This run took like 2 months, or no, about 6 weeks. Hunker down and just assume there's gonna be a long stretch of time of me just waiting to find. There's literally...
Sorry, as an inexperienced, real world time or game time?
This is 6 weeks. I mean, it took me 6 weeks of real time playing the run end to end. It's the only. Okay. I haven't been playing like a ton.
That's what I was curious. Yeah.
But comfortably a 50-hour run in like real world gameplay hours. In game time, this guy in probably this run, because it does full year cycles on obviously a shortened time span, I think it took me 8 or 9 years of in-game time. This guy was brain dead for a full year of that. A little bit more. Until I found the right item. He is literally just consuming time and resources to keep alive. And also because all the robots were essentially autopilot. He couldn't actively command them because he is a vegetable, but they do what they've been previously assigned to do, which is really funny because some of them were assigned to protect him, and they were just like, he was just enshrined by this group of mechs who could do nothing but sit in a circle around him, and then all the people were actually keeping the wheel, like all the mechs that were keeping the wheels on. Anyway, it defined the run. Is what I will most think of is this dumb situation that I created through a mistake, and not having like an easy way to just like cheat code my way out, just go back to save and just not have that happen, and being forced to fix the problem through the game was very, very interesting in a way that, like, if this happened in State of Decay or most other games that introduce permadeath, I'm instantly quitting. Like, there's no chance. But RimWorld gives you the ways to fix it. It's just hard. And also, I think part of the devilish thing is that they, like, you usually to the points where this stuff happens. Because I have had stuff like that happen in runs that have been short, and I'm like, oh, cool, delete. Instantly start a new one. Like, I'm just not going to screw with it. I'm like 20 real-world hours into this game, into this run at this point. It's like, I will not complete another. I will not restart another one and make it legitimate attempt at winning. It just would take too long, and I'd be too annoyed. But I was like, all right, I can't throw away that time. I just have to figure it out. I figure it out or I lose. But I'm gonna at least give it an honest try. It was a very cool organic moment that I think other games that like do the not AI generated but randomly generated gameplay.
Procedural,
yeah, procedure. There, thank you. Procedurally generated gameplay. They're all striving for that, and so few achieve it. And like everybody has these stories about their RimWorld playthroughs. Like everybody has this like seemingly unique thing that happened to them that made it both frustrating and cool.
It's so good.
Yeah, I feel
it's a lovely game. It never goes on sale. It's a full $30 to buy all the DLC. It's a full $60 extra to bring you to a total of $90. But yeah, I used to not recommend it. It's like one of my favorite games that I don't recommend because of its price point. But I won't recommend people buy it. I recommend people do what I do, which is buy the base game and beat the game, or at least make your best effort to beat the game on the base game, and then buy the DLC. I still recommend doing it one by one. That's my plan, is I'm going to put the game down for a while and then buy another one, and that'll change my next run, and until hopefully they'll come out with more DLC by the time I've gotten through the next two. But yeah, I'm finally, after this last playthrough, I'm like, I feel like it is doable by most people to play and have at least a sporting chance at winning a run.
That's what I'm talking about, though. DLC is better bang for the buck, It's fucking double the total monetary quantity in DLC as opposed to the base game.
Yeah, they did a great job with it, too. I think it's always how much DLC do you add before you kind of, change the game to the point it could potentially not be fun anymore, but also be noticeable. And Biotech, I think, did a great job of, the things that are there, they really change the game, but at its core, it's the same. They've just added to it. It's really fun. Love that game.
It's really good. Mm-hmm.
On that note, you triggered one last thought with what you said. You mentioned permadeath and State of Decay 2, and then that made me remember Xbox Live Gold is finally dying, which is kind of interesting.
End of an era.
Yeah. Which for those who don't know, it's only dying in name and free games. It is transitioning into something called Xbox Game Pass Core. It is still the same $10 a month, but please, for the love of God, don't pay $10 a month. It's a fucking ripoff. Buy a year if you can do it. Then it's $5 a month instead of $10. Actually, I wonder if that's even going to be an option, right? Because that was only a thing if you bought the year of game time or whatever at Costco or something, right? For example. I don't know what's going to happen because normal Game Pass, they don't offer a yearly thing. They only offer a monthly. So I don't know about Game Pass Core. That would be interesting. But yes, it's $10 a month is the normal price, excluding potential yearly discounts. And it gives you access to multiplayer. And instead of giving 2 free games a month, which for the past 2 years have been fucking garbage, they have been terrible. There has been nothing good in games with gold for 2 years. You instead get a quote-unquote catalog of over 25 high-quality games. It's just a subset of the normal console Game Pass. So that is interesting. Yeah, it is the end of an era of Xbox Live Gold. Yeah, thought that was probably worth noting. And yes, one of those games is State of Decay 2. It's actually a pretty solid like base catalog,
Yeah,
right? Like
it's
if you're
not
already
a
paying
bad
for gold,
lineup.
yeah, like if you're already paying for gold, right? Like, and now you just get these 25 games. Like I said, these 25 games are at least what's been announced is Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Elder Scrolls Online, Fable, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2. Like that is a solid fucking base catalog of games, right? Like, and so I feel like it's great. It's a good transition in my opinion. And on that note, we will wrap it up unless either of you have any final departing words. Okie dokie. Catch you all next week. Adios. Toodaloo.